Midweek, around 6 o'clock in the evening, on Las Vegas Boulevard. The billboards still flashed their dazzling colors, music still poured out from the grand lobbies. But the sidewalks once packed with tourists looked strangely sparse. In that moment, many residents realized something was off with a city long marketed as the paradise of sunshine, low taxes, and cheap homes. For over a decade, Las Vegas had been the migration dream for tens of thousands of families. Sell an overpriced house elsewhere, bring cash to the desert, and start over. By 2025, that dream is fracturing. Fixed costs are climbing. The climate is harsher. Schools are disappointing. Jobs feel unstable, and the sense of belonging nowhere is spreading. These issues do not appear in isolation. They pile up, driving many newcomers away within just a year. 1. The housing fever. From springboard to burden, Las Vegas once promised homeownership at a reasonable price. But stepping into 2025, that promise has soured. A 3-bedroom house that cost around $118,000 in 2012 now approaches $485,000, with interest rates hovering near 7%. The monthly payment on such a home is roughly $2,870 before taxes and insurance. Once property tax, HOA fees, and insurance are added, many households face over $3,200 per month. Within the local income structure, only about 1/3 of households qualify for ownership at current prices. With the median household income around $72,000 per year, it falls far short of the $115,000 plus per year, typically needed to buy comfortably. What's new in the 2025 housing picture? Supply lag. New construction hasn't kept up with post-pandemic demand. Apartment projects take years to complete, while the need for move-in-ready homes is immediate. Asymmetric competition. Out-of-state buyers and cash investors place higher bids, leaving local families dependent on mortgages at a disadvantage. Structural add-ons. HOAs are now standard in newer communities, meaning the listing price is never the final cost. Landscaping rules and shared amenities translate into fixed monthly dues. Aging, housing stock. Older homes, roofs, HVAC systems deteriorate faster under desert heat. Sudden large expenses newcomers often fail to anticipate. Meanwhile, the rental market no longer offers relief. A 2-bedroom unit that used to cost around $1,200 just a few years ago now exceeds $2,000, pushing over half of renters into cost-burdened status, spending more than 35% of income on housing. The social effects are tangible. Young households delay having children, workers take on extra shifts, and relocation rates within 1,218 months are far higher than expected. If a household budget is a boat, housing is the hull. When the hull thickens too quickly, every other wave, summer utility bills, private school tuition, insurance risks flooding the vessel. In Las Vegas 2025, many families feel this firsthand. Housing is no longer a springboard for wealth building but a choke point. That's why housing sits at the top of the list, because once the largest expense is locked in place, even the smallest increases elsewhere can sink the whole system. 2. Taxes, insurance, and the cost of ownership. When no income tax isn't enough. For decades, Nevada's biggest selling point has been simple: no state income tax. The slogan was irresistible for Californians tired of paying over 10% of their salaries to Sacramento, or for retirees looking to stretch their pensions further. On paper, the absence of state income tax should make Las Vegas a financial paradise. But in practice, by 2025, the everyday reality of property ownership in the desert tells a very different story. Let's start with property taxes. Nevada's rate looks modest compared to states like New Jersey or Illinois. But when paired with median home values climbing toward $485,000, even low rates add up. Families find themselves writing checks for several $1,000s a year on top of mortgages already north of $3,000 monthly. Add HOA fees into the mix, and the picture turns sour. In many suburban communities, HOAs charge hundreds each month for landscaping rules, neighborhood pools, and security patrols. What used to be a perk now feels like a penalty. Insurance costs have also crept upward, and not just for houses. Brutal summers mean air conditioning systems run constantly. leading to frequent breakdowns and higher homeowners' claims. Flash floods and wildfires, though less frequent than in California, are a growing concern, and insurers are adjusting premiums accordingly. Meanwhile, auto insurance in Nevada ranks among the highest in the nation, driven by rapid growth, high accident rates, and the strain of extreme weather on vehicles. Utilities form another hidden layer of cost. Air conditioning bills of $400 to $700 per month in peak summer are no longer outliers but the norm. Water bills, once negligible, are rising as conservation policies tighten. Even garbage and sewer fees have inched upward, reflecting the strain of supporting 2.3 million residents in a desert ecosystem. Here's the irony. Many families move to Las Vegas expecting to save money compared to their home states. They imagine their paychecks stretching further without income tax. Instead, they discover a patchwork of smaller but relentless costs: property taxes, HOA dues, insurance premiums, utilities that quietly swallow up the very savings they thought they were gaining. And the psychological effect is just as damaging as the financial one. Home ownership here begins to feel unstable, unpredictable. Retirees who came to Nevada for fixed-income peace of mind now find themselves budgeting for rising utility bills and surprise HOA assessments. Young professionals who imagined building wealth through home equity discover that stability comes at the cost of endless hidden expenses. Las Vegas marketed itself as a tax haven. But in 2025, many residents are learning that low taxes don't automatically mean low costs. When ownership itself feels like a burden, the supposed financial freedom of Nevada starts looking less like a blessing and more like a trap. 3. The hidden costs of everyday living, the silent drain on family budgets. When newcomers plan their Las Vegas budgets, they usually account for the big expenses: rent or mortgage, maybe the steep summer power bills. What most don't expect are the dozens of small recurring costs that creep into everyday life, the ones that slowly, quietly, drain a household's financial stability. These hidden costs are among the most underestimated challenges of life in Vegas, and for many families, they end up being the last straw. First, the desert environment is merciless on vehicles. Tires that might last 60,000 miles in cooler climates rarely survive more than 3 summers here. Dashboards crack, paint fades, and air conditioners run at full blast just to keep cars drivable. Mechanics in Vegas know this, and families end up budgeting an extra $1,000 to $1,500 per year in repairs just to keep their vehicles functional. For working parents juggling long commutes across the valley, that's not optional, it's survival. Then comes lifestyle creep. Las Vegas isn't just another city, it's the entertainment capital of the world. For tourists, splurging on a weekend of shows, fine dining, or club nights is part of the deal. But for residents, resisting temptation is harder than it seems. There's always a new Cirque du Soleil show, a celebrity chef opening, or a big-name concert in town. What starts as just one night out often snowballs into hundreds of dollars every month. Surveys of locals reveal families spending $500 to $800 more than planned each month simply because the city's entertainment culture is unavoidable. And then there's gambling. Not everyone develops a problem, but the constant exposure is undeniable. Slot machines sit in grocery stores. Gas stations have poker machines tucked in the corner. And of course, the Strip is only a short drive away. For those vulnerable to gambling, the accessibility can be financially devastating. Even those who gamble for fun might find themselves losing a couple $100s every month, a habit that quietly erodes budgets and savings. The transient culture of the city amplifies these costs. People come and go, neighbors rotate, and building long-term community is difficult. Without strong neighborhood ties or extended family networks, many residents spend more on socializing, eating out, or entertainment simply to avoid isolation. The cost here isn't just financial. It's emotional. Families often describe feeling rootless, as though they're endlessly floating without stable connections. By the time these hidden costs add up: vehicle repairs, lifestyle splurges, gambling temptations, emotional spending, many households realize they're burning through thousands of dollars a year more than expected. The dream of a cheaper life in the desert vanishes, replaced with the sobering reality that life in Las Vegas can quietly become more expensive than in the very cities people fled. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And while the mortgage may break the bank visibly, These hidden costs slice away silently until families wake up and realize the numbers no longer work. 4. Job market instability. Why work in Vegas still feels like a gamble. Las Vegas has always sold itself as the city of opportunity. If you needed a job, the Strip would provide hotels, casinos, restaurants, shows. For decades, people moved here believing they could reinvent themselves quickly, no matter their background. But in 2025, that promise has grown fragile. Beneath the glittering job ads lies an economy still overly dependent on tourism, hospitality, and entertainment. And when those industries stumble, entire households collapse with them. The pandemic was the clearest warning shot. In 2020, as casinos went dark and planes stopped landing, Las Vegas recorded one of the highest unemployment spikes in the nation, nearly 34%. Entire families lost incomes overnight. Even though jobs have technically returned, the scars linger. Workers in hotels and restaurants now live with constant anxiety. They know firsthand how quickly the Strip can shut down. Outside of tourism, diversification is happening, but it's uneven. Tech firms like Amazon and Tesla have established operations. There's some growth in logistics, warehousing, and even renewable energy. But these sectors are too small to offset the dominance of entertainment. For every high-paying tech role, there are dozens of modest-paying service jobs that don't come close to matching the region's soaring housing costs. The mismatch is glaring. To comfortably afford the median Vegas home, you now need to earn over $115,000 a year, yet the median household income remains around $72,000. That $40,000 gap isn't just a number. It represents parents working double shifts, families delaying retirement savings, and young professionals giving up on homeownership altogether. Then there's the issue of benefits. Many hospitality jobs pay well in tips, but they lack stable benefits like comprehensive health insurance or retirement plans. Workers often find themselves earning decent cash week to week, but building little long-term security. A single illness or downturn can erase years of progress. Job instability also affects the psychological side of life in Vegas. In cities with diverse economies like Denver, Austin, or Minneapolis, losing a job doesn't necessarily mean losing your entire livelihood. But in Las Vegas, one economic shock ripples through every household. It's not just about financial instability. It's about living with the constant fear that your future depends on the next convention season, the next tourism trend, or the next global crisis. This reality is driving families to look elsewhere. They leave for cities with more diverse economies, where jobs feel less like a gamble and more like a career path. Ironically, while Las Vegas thrives on the idea of luck, for many residents, depending on luck for a paycheck is exactly what sends them packing. 5. Schools and education. The breaking point for parents. If you ask parents why they left Las Vegas, their answer often starts with a sigh and ends with one word: schools. For families, the single most important investment is their children's future. And in 2025, Clark County's education system has become the deal breaker that pushes countless households to leave the desert behind. On paper, Clark County School District sounds impressive. It's the 5th largest district in the United States, serving over 300,000 students. But size hasn't translated into quality. In a national study ranking school systems in the 50 largest metro areas, Las Vegas placed near the very bottom, second to last overall. For parents who came expecting stability, that statistic isn't just disappointing, it's devastating. Classrooms are overcrowded, teachers are stretched thin, and underfunded programs leave little room for innovation. Parents relocating from states like Colorado or Massachusetts often describe the contrast as shocking. In those places, kids might get individual attention, access to extracurriculars, and well-maintained facilities. In Las Vegas, too often, the reality is the opposite. Larger class sizes, fewer resources, and a system that feels like it's simply pushing kids through rather than preparing them for the future. The challenges go beyond academics. Since the pandemic, reports of school violence and behavioral issues have spiked. Parents now worry not only about their children's education, but also their safety. Many describe the stress of sending their kids to schools where fights, bullying, and disciplinary problems are frequent. For those with resources, there's an escape route: private schools. But quality private education here doesn't come cheap. Families can expect to pay between $15,000 and $25,000 per child per year. For a household with 2 kids, that can mean a staggering $50,000 annual tuition bill on top of a $3,000 monthly mortgage or rent. For middle-class families, the math simply doesn't add up. The inequality stings even more when parents look at wealthy enclaves like Summerlin or Henderson. There, schools are well-funded, safer, and academically stronger. But those neighborhoods require buying or renting into high-price zip codes, a luxury most can't afford. For the majority of families, those better schools remain out of reach, leaving them stuck in a cycle of limited options. Education isn't just another factor in the decision to stay or go. For many families, it's the factor. Parents may endure the brutal summers, high power bills, and even rising home costs. But when they feel their children's futures are on the line, the choice becomes clear. They leave. And this exodus has consequences. Businesses lose skilled workers who move for better school systems. Communities lose stability as families cycle in and out, and the city itself loses the very ingredient it needs most for long-term success: young people raised to thrive. In the end, the story of education in Las Vegas is not just about low rankings or overcrowded classrooms. It's about hope, and whether families see this city as a place where their children can truly grow. Increasingly, the answer is no. Lect 6, Crime and Safety. When peace of mind costs more than sunshine. The neon lights of the Strip promise glamour, fun, and endless possibility. But ask the people who actually live here, and you'll hear a different story. Behind the glowing facade lies a daily unease about safety. For many families, the creeping rise of crime has turned Las Vegas from a dream destination into a place where peace of mind comes at too high a price. Statistically, Las Vegas doesn't shine. By 2025, the metro ranks in the 35th percentile for safety, meaning that 65% of American cities are safer. That number alone is enough to give pause, but the lived experiences of residents tell the real story. Property crimes, car break-ins, home burglaries, and porch thefts have become routine. Talk to any neighborhood Facebook group, and you'll find endless stories of shattered car windows or packages vanishing within minutes of delivery. Violent crime, while concentrated in specific areas, has also edged above national averages. Families moving in from quieter towns often find themselves unprepared for the adjustment. What they expected to be suburban calm often feels more like urban edge. Even in nicer neighborhoods, parents are advised to install alarm systems, reinforced doors, and surveillance cameras. That's not just an added cost, it's an added layer of stress. The problems don't stop at the city streets. Inside Clark County schools, reports of violence have risen since students returned from virtual learning. Fights, bullying, and behavioral issues now weigh heavily on parents already worried about academics. The idea of sending children to school with a sense of unease has become another reason many decide they simply can't stay. What makes the situation worse is perception. Crime doesn't just erode safety, it erodes trust. Families who once thought of Las Vegas as a sunny escape now view it as a place where you need to watch your back. Even if statistics show certain neighborhoods are relatively safe, the anxiety seeps into daily routines. Walking after dark, leaving cars unattended, letting kids bike to the park. These once simple activities now come with hesitation. To their credit, Metro Police and community watch programs are active, and many neighborhoods are tightly knit in their vigilance. But the sheer scale of the city, combined with its transient population, makes it difficult to ever feel fully secure. The result is a lingering sense of vulnerability that doesn't go away no matter how bright the Strip shines. And here's the heart of it. Safety isn't just about crime rates. It's about peace of mind. Families may tolerate high housing costs or even harsh summers, but when they no longer feel safe in their own community, no tax savings or entertainment perks can convince them to stay. In the end, crime becomes the silent deal breaker, pushing residents to trade the glitz of Las Vegas for the comfort of security elsewhere. 7. Climate and health. When the desert sun becomes unbearable. At first glance, the climate seems like a blessing. Newcomers often arrive in spring, when Las Vegas feels perfect blue skies, mild 75 degrees Fahrenheit days, and sunsets that paint the desert in gold. It feels like paradise compared to snowy winters in the Midwest. or gray skies in the Pacific Northwest. But by July, the illusion shatters. Step outside in midsummer, and it feels like opening the door to an oven set at 115 degrees Fahrenheit, 46 degrees Celsius. Sidewalks radiate heat strong enough to burn shoes. Car interiors reach dangerous temperatures within minutes. Even something as simple as walking a dog becomes a health hazard. Vets across the city warn that pets risk heat stroke just from midday walks. For humans, the risks are no less severe. Each summer, Las Vegas records hundreds of heat-related medical emergencies, placing it alongside Phoenix as one of the most dangerous metro areas in America for extreme heat. The elderly are hit hardest. Retirees, who once flocked here for sunshine and tax breaks, now find themselves prisoners inside their air-conditioned homes. Families with young children face a different struggle. Outdoor activities become almost impossible for months at a time, forcing kids indoors and raising concerns about long-term health and quality of life. Then there's the financial sting. Air conditioning isn't optional in Las Vegas, it's survival. Monthly summer power bills of $400 for small homes and up to $700 for larger ones are common. That's an extra $2,000, $3,000 a year burned simply to stay alive in your own house. Pair that with rising rent or mortgage payments, and the desert heat becomes not just a physical burden but a financial one. Climate change adds another layer of uncertainty. The summers are growing longer, hotter, and more intense. Scientists warn that by the 2030s, days above 110 degrees Fahrenheit may double in frequency. Residents already whisper the same unsettling question. If it feels unbearable now, what will this place be like in 20 years? Beyond heat, Las Vegas also faces the secondary health effects of climate extremes. Air quality worsens during heat waves. Wildfire smoke from surrounding states frequently blankets the valley, triggering asthma and respiratory issues. Emergency rooms see spikes not just from heat stroke, but from dehydration, cardiac strain, and respiratory distress. The psychological toll is real as well. Many newcomers report feeling trapped indoors during summer, disconnected from the outdoor lifestyle they imagined. Depression and anxiety climb when people realize that the city's sunshine, once marketed as a selling point, has become a source of stress. In the end, the desert climate doesn't just scorch the skin, it scorches the dream of affordable, healthy living. Families come chasing sunshine. They leave because too much sunshine burns everything down. 8. Water scarcity and resource limits. The desert's most fragile promise. Las Vegas is, at its core, an engineered miracle. A glittering metropolis built in one of the driest deserts in North America. For decades, the city defied nature by drawing life from the Colorado River and Lake Mead. But in 2025, the limits of that miracle are becoming alarmingly clear. Lake Mead, the city's primary water source, has dropped to its lowest level since the 1932. The infamous bathtub rings that line the lake aren't just a striking visual, they're a warning sign of how precarious life in the desert has become. With climate change accelerating evaporation and snowpack declines in the Rockies, experts agree. The question is no longer if Las Vegas will face severe water shortages, but how severe they'll be. To the city's credit, conservation efforts have been remarkable. Despite adding nearly 500,000 new residents in the last 2 decades, Las Vegas today actually uses less water overall than it did 20 years ago. Aggressive recycling programs, strict landscaping restrictions, and bans on ornamental lawns have made the city a model of efficiency. On paper, this is a success story. But for everyday residents, conservation doesn't feel like success, it feels like sacrifice. Families watch their front lawns ripped out, neighborhood fountains drained, and backyard pools restricted. Meanwhile, across the border, Californians still play golf on emerald fairways watered daily. The optics sting. Locals increasingly feel like they're carrying the burden of restraint while others flaunt abundance. Beyond lifestyle inconvenience lies a deeper fear: the future of property values. Homebuyers are beginning to ask tough questions. Will houses in Las Vegas still hold value if water becomes scarcer? Will long-term investors pull out of the market if the city's lifeline dries up? For families staking their savings on homeownership, the uncertainty is unnerving. The water crisis isn't only about homes and lawns. It's about identity and permanence. Las Vegas has always been marketed as a city of infinite reinvention, but water scarcity forces residents to confront a sobering reality. You can't reinvent what nature won't allow. Some households decide not to wait for the big collapse. They look 20 years ahead. Imagine a desert city competing with dwindling resources and choose to move now while their property values are still stable. They trade glittering lights for greener pastures, literally. In the end, water is life. And when life in Las Vegas feels like it depends on a shrinking reservoir, families don't just worry, they act. They sell, they pack, and they search for places where tomorrow's faucet won't feel like a gamble. 9. The transient lifestyle and lack of community roots, when a city never truly feels like home. Of all the reasons families leave Las Vegas, this one is the hardest to measure yet perhaps the most personal: the lack of community roots. For decades, Las Vegas has been a city designed for visitors, a place built to entertain, not necessarily to sustain. That tourist-first DNA seeps into the daily lives of residents in ways newcomers rarely anticipate. The city is in constant motion. Neighbors move in, neighbors move out. Apartments flip tenants every year. Many households come chasing sunshine or tax savings, only to leave after a year or two when the reality of costs, climate, or schools sets in. For those hoping to build long-term friendships and neighborhood bonds, it often feels like running on a treadmill that never stops. Parents are especially vocal about the isolation. Unlike cities with deep cultural traditions, think New Orleans with its festivals or Chicago with its neighborhood parades, Las Vegas lacks a strong calendar of local, family-oriented community events. Unless you're drawn to nightlife or gambling, the options feel surprisingly thin. Sure, there are nearby outdoor escapes like Red Rock Canyon or Mount Charleston, but daily life still revolves around casinos and entertainment districts. Many families describe the experience as living in a hotel lobby, glamorous on the surface, but hollow underneath. Work schedules add to the strain. In a city dominated by hospitality and entertainment jobs, weekends and evenings, traditional family time are often work shifts. That makes building steady friendships difficult. Plans get canceled, relationships drift, and people find themselves increasingly detached. Even though 2.3 million people live in the valley, many residents confess that Las Vegas feels lonelier than small towns with a fraction of the population. The irony is striking. A city known for drawing millions of visitors every year often leaves its own residents feeling like outsiders. Without libraries, cultural centers, and traditions that knit people together, the social glue of Las Vegas remains thin. And when families feel that lack of belonging, all the other challenges, high housing costs, unbearable summers, weak schools, become harder to endure. Ultimately, what breaks many people isn't the bills or the heat, but the realization that they don't see themselves putting down roots here. They miss community. They miss stability. They miss the feeling of truly being home. And no amount of tax savings, neon lights, or headline shows can replace that. The harsh reality behind the neon. Las Vegas shines like no other city on earth. Its branding is unmatched. Tax breaks, eternal sunshine, endless entertainment. But in 2025, the shine is wearing thin for those who call it home. From the explosion of housing costs to the creeping weight of taxes and utilities, from fragile job markets to failing schools, from crime concerns to the unforgiving desert climate, and finally, to the emptiness of a transient community, the cracks are no longer hidden. What's left is a sobering truth. Las Vegas may still dazzle the world, but for many families, it no longer delivers on its promise. The very things that once drew newcomers affordability, opportunity, excitement now drive them away. And so, they leave, chasing stability elsewhere, packing up like the very tourists who fill the Strip each weekend. The question is not just whether Las Vegas can keep its lights on, but whether it can rebuild the trust of those who once believed in its dream. For now, the exodus continues, and the city's glow hides a reality that is far darker than its neon skyline suggests.